Welcome back to TimberTalk, Navigating the Political Forest. I'm your host, American Lumberjack, aka Frankie. I am always appreciative of you joining me week in and week out so I can deliver to you truth. Without truth, no man shall see the Lord. So, guys, I have a great show for you in store today. And I just hope that you receive the information and do what diligent people should do with information. You should move from information to knowledge, from knowledge to understanding, from understanding to wisdom. And a wise people never lets their government control them in any way, shape, or form. That's both left and right. And if you know the truth of the matter, being the Constitution that we are founded upon, there is no right or left or Democrat or Republican in there. So stop buying into the lie. As always, we're going to open up with a prayer. And we're going to get into it. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for today. We thank you for this awesome opportunity to share truth, to share your word, and to get closer to you day by day, God. We thank you for this political state of affairs because you are in it, as your word says in Isaiah 9, Lord, and 6, that the government shall be upon your shoulders, God. So we just pray that you continue to give us grace, give us mercy in this great land that is America. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, guys. Like I said, welcome back to Timber Talk, Navigating the Political Forest. I am your host, American Lumberjack. And today's show cuts straight through power, policy, and pressure from the United States on the inside all the way to the global chessboard that we play on every single day. We're breaking down the federal government's quiet expansion of immigration detention nationwide. That's going to be a kicker for you guys, and I think you will enjoy that particular story. And we're also going to look into how Panama's Supreme Court has knocked China down a peg or two. And then we're going to jump into a stockpile of a story between, that mineral, that critical mineral. Because, Trump loves those critical minerals and all of that good stuff because he talks about it seemingly every single week. We're going to hop right into that, and then we're going to jump into a high-stakes trade announcement with India. And we're going to ask the major question, is it a real deal or is it just all talk? Because nothing has been done about it yet, but we're going to get into that. And finally, we're going to cross the border of Congress. Congress is pushing for a sweeping election integrity bill. And boy, is it a beauty, which is something we're going to get into. So sit back, relax, and we're going to take these 6 short stories for a good little ride. Power, sovereignty, and who really controls America's future. So let's get right into it with our first segment here today, illegal detention. What is it? Where's it going? Like I said earlier, there's some things on the rise that no one's really talking about because the government is kind of hush-hush about it. And we know anytime the government is hush-hush about anything, whether good, bad, or ugly, left or right in this particular case, may not necessarily be that great. But we're going to break this apart and look at it and see what it is. So Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka ICE, and the Department of Homeland Security are quietly converting warehouses all across the United States into permanent. Now, this is where I have the issue because once we get all the illegals under control, why do these need to be permanent? But I digress. But permanent detention facilities. And I thought we were getting them out of here. That's also my point of contention as well. If we're getting them out of here, why do we need permanent detention centers? But that's my little take on that. But let's get into it. These are not temporary tents, not short-term hiding pens, but permanent structures, as I stated earlier. And we're talking up to about 23 mega facilities in states like Texas, Arizona, Indiana, New York, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Virginia, and Louisiana, just to name a few for you guys. And some of these sites could hold tens of thousands of people per facility. Not some facilities in total, but per facility. And it gets better. And here's the thing. Most of these plans were done so not public. The government is a public entity, so they need to be doing things publicly, yet they didn't do this publicly. Also, some of these facilities could hold up to 80,000 people. Just to give you a size comparison. So if we take 23 of these facilities and times it by 23, that's a major number. 80,000 times 23 is about 1.8 million individuals placed in these places, and they're permanent. So again, are we keeping these people? I thought the whole thing was to get rid of these illegals and bring back stability so the taxpayers aren't footing the bill for these people. For those that don't know, the United States taxpayer roughly from 2012 till about 2019 paid $1.5 billion a year. No, wait. Nope, I'm wrong. I apologize. That number is wrong. I'm thinking of another number. It was $152 billion a year just to house and take care of illegals. So if we're building all of these facilities, where's that money really going? Again, that's my opinion. I'm a little off the beaten path, but let's break this down ultimately. The federal government is buying or leasing large industrial warehouses with the explicit intent to convert them into detention centers. These facilities are permanent, not temporary, for those that are joining just now. I see some new people popping up over here. And these are overflow sites, allegedly, for the already permanent detention centers that we have. These are considered to be overflow sites. Why we need overflow is weird if we're getting rid of these people, like the news constantly beats us in the face about, and Trump's plans and how he touts out how he's getting rid of all of these people. If we're getting rid of them, why do we need overflow sites, Trump? I support you. I voted for you, but why do we? This is counterintuitive. It's contraindicative of what you have been saying. But I digress. Some of these locations, like I said earlier, could hold up to 80,000, according to the estimates that they're putting out already. And very few local communities even know this is coming. They are quietly using constitutional means to acquire these locations, which I would have to look into and see what means they are using to actually acquire these locations, because we know the federal government hasn't been constitutional since about 1789, when they created it and put it into practice in the United States. But that's a history lesson for another time. If you want that history lesson, you need to come talk to me separately. But ask yourself this: why are we turning warehouses, not existing facilities, into detention hubs? Again, I'm posing this question over and over because I really want to hit it home with you that if we're getting rid of these people and sending them back, why are they permanent? Now, under the Biden administration, the Obama administration, even though he was the deporter in chief, even though he can't be the deporter in chief when Bill Clinton deported over 12 million people, but I digress. It behooves me that if they're deporting these people, under the Democrat rule, they were letting them back in. And under Trump is saying we're getting them out permanently. Why do we need these detention centers? And like I said, the only thing I see this being good for is to house these people so we can get them out quickly. But the permanent word really doesn't sit well with me. And then you have to look at it from the aspect, who pays for this? Who's paying for these facilities? Is it taxpayers? Or is Trump going to use the tariff money, which we have seen him use several times already in his presidency over the course of 2025, benefiting the American people? But who's going to pay for this? And if they're permanent, what happens when the next president comes in? These are questions you need to be asking yourself when the government starts making quiet moves. This isn't just a policy shift. This is a structural expansion of the federal detention infrastructure. So I am pro ICE. I am pro DHS. I am pro immigration legally. I am pro getting these people out of here, but I am not pro all of these other major moves that are being made. It's kind of strange to me. So I pose these questions to you so you ask the right questions. Communities from Oklahoma to Virginia are only finding out after the fact that these things are happening, that these things are being turned into these detention facilities. Now, the state government might know, but the community, the people, and let me give you some understanding here, a lesson, because I don't educate, I teach. Let me give you a lesson here. The word state, according to law, is defined as a collection or group of people who have come together under one political rule and one governance, and they rule that way. Why is the groups of people in these communities only finding out after the fact? It's kind of like they're just doing stuff behind the scenes, which is not really Trump's MO. Everything Trump's really has done, with the exception of bombing other nations, has been open and upfront, and that's been his ongoing policy. So I'm curious to see if he's the one that actually made this decision or someone in the higher ups of the DHS. Federal immunity often puts local control on the sidelines. And if you have constitutionality on your side, why is it you're just now using constitutionality when you've been using unconstitutional means this entire time, prior to Trump, all the way back to the past? We're not talking about just now. The government has been out of control. And whether you agree with me or not on immigration enforcement or disagree with it, this level of expansion deserves public scrutiny and accountability. And up until this, Trump has been very much open and accountable for all of his actions. And really, he's been unapologetic about it. And that's one of the things I've loved about him in particular. I just don't see this being a good thing in the long run because of permanence. That's just my opinion. Now, my opinion doesn't hold much weight in the world of politics, but I will give it to you anyway because it's always going to be backed by God and the Constitution, the two foundations that make this American's continent, North American continent, the United States of America, great. America's great because of the foundation that it stands on, and we're slowly but surely shifting away from that foundation, and I don't like it. But you do with that what you will. Honestly, I think you should just write your congressman, find out what's going on, get more information. This is how you hold the government accountable. The people in the United States have become extraordinarily lazy in their actions. You don't read, can't read. Most of you can't read. And when I say read, I don't mean you can't read the words on the page. You can't comprehend. And you have to realize that their language is not our language. Grab a legal dictionary, and then you'll learn how they speak. And then that will change your whole world and open up your purview to things that were unseen before. Our next segment here is Return to Panama. Yes, Return to Panama. So if you guys remember earlier this year, earlier in 2025, it's 2026 already, but if you remember in 2025, around April, things weren't so hot with Panama. But we're going to break into this story and give you guys some good news here. The Panama Supreme Court just voided a major port contract that was held by Hong Kong and their Hong Kong-based firm, CK Hutchinson. So again, if you remember earlier, April of 2025, CK Hutchinson beat out BlackRock for the contract over the Panama Canal, which sent Trump into a tizzy. It's like, oh, you can't do this. And then you had the left saying Trump's going to go in and try to take the Panama Canal, and it's not American. It was a mess. It was a mess. But the court ruled that those contracts were unconstitutional. Not our court, Panama Supreme Court. They ruled that those things were unconstitutional according to the Panama Constitution and against the public interest at that. So they were like, yeah, hey, CK Hutchinson, we're done here. You're done here. Say goodbye to these contracts. That's not just a symbolic move. That is a decisive blow. So here's the breakdown. The deals gave CK Hutchinson a long-term control over ports, both ends, because the canal has two ends, and it also allowed them to have oversight over even the Panama government. So that deal wasn't a deal at all. It was basically China taking liberties with its money and flexing its weight around. They included tax breaks for this company, minimal oversight, and outsized influence over a critical trade artery. Personally, I think that was the deal of the century for China, but their Supreme Court stepped in and said no. The court specifically noted that the lack of transparency, again, back with that transparency word, we need transparency, both in America and around the world when America is doing dealings with these places. But their court said it lacked transparency and the public oversight wasn't there. It was just, hey, this company gets to do what they want, when they want, how they want, where they want. That's corporate government. And we know that when corporations run the government, we got a problem. And what really matters here is that Panama and the Panama Canal is a key artery for moving trade for the United States. And China had complete control over that. And they were putting the strong arm on America in that particular area. So the Panama Canal prevents us from having to go all the way down the bottom of South America and all the way back up again. We can just cut right through. It's like a shortcut, so to speak. But C.K. Hutchinson gained this control, like I said earlier, back in April 2025, when they outbid BlackRock. At the time, the alarm bells were raised, and then it just kind of subsided, which I find to be absolutely crazy that we move on so quickly. America and the American media loves to serotonin dump its citizens and give you guys that high, and then when you start to go down, they're like, oh, here's some more to keep you back up and keep you going. And the problem with that is we never get a break, and then we get bored. It shortens our attention span. And in this particular facet, this actually matters a lot for the United States because it reduces the prices. And with this new decision that was made by the Panama Supreme Court, it also gives us an opportunity to go in and renegotiate our deal that we lost in the first place. Now, I'm sure Panama is going to want to have extra hands on this to make sure they don't get done by the United States like they got done by China. Here's my personal take. This is a strategic setback for China, one, and a quiet win for the United States. By shutting down this deal, Panama has reopened the door, like I stated earlier, for the U.S.-Panama agreement over the critical port infrastructure. That doesn't guarantee that America will get the deal, but it gives us a good leg up to maybe negotiate some other avenue and usage of that particular area. As long as China's iced out, that is a plus for us. Critical infrastructure should not be controlled by foreign entities. Panama should have overall control over their own area. The problem here is, and I think this is why, in my opinion, why Panama Supreme Court stepped in, is that there was no oversight, especially when the United States wanted to use those trade routes to run through. They had no real say in the matter, and they were shut down by a corporation. This one matters, and it's bigger than it looks for the simple fact that it might reduce prices. You know how people complain about that price on shipping? This will reduce the logistics because it reduces the time to travel overall. So this is good news for the United States and bad news for China. And I'm pretty sure China's over there like throwing their hats, probably putting some people on the firing squad and all these other things instead of doing what they should be doing and regrouping and coming to the table again properly instead of trying to do what's solely best for China and take liberties with Panama. Our next story here, like I said, we love those minerals. So does Trump, is the mineral czar. Trump is the mineral czar. I don't care what anybody says. This man knows how to make a deal, which we'll get into the dealings of deals later, but he knows how to make a deal. President Trump just authorized a major move to secure America's supply chain. This is something that moves along the lines of energy independence, which we were under Trump in his first term. And then Binky Biden got in and his cronies in his administration flipped it on its head and gave our energy independence back. And then they claimed that we had energy independence by, we have more oil reserves than we ever had. Yeah, but we had no room to use or store those things. So what did that do? Then you gave our emergency reserves to Russia. It's crazy. But moving on, a $12 billion critical mineral reserve plan called Project Volt has now been put into action under Donald Trump. And yes, it's exactly as strategic as it sounds. Here's the breakdown for this particular topic here. The administration is creating a national critical mineral reserve to stockpile rare earth minerals and key industrial metals that benefit America. $10 billion of this will come from the U.S. Export-Import Bank, and then an additional $2 billion will come from private investors. Again, I don't like the private aspect of it, but with the $10 billion coming and being the majority coming from the United States, we do have enough oversight to know what is going on with a simple FOIA request. Another thing that's going on here is this pulls power away from China. Last week, I told you guys that China owns 90% of the world's rare earth mineral trade. They have control and complete dominance over this. And because of this, this has put America and everywhere else in the world really at its beck and call. And if China says we don't want to give it, they don't have to give it. If they want to freeze it, they can freeze it, which hurts other nations. If they want to hike the price up, it hurts other nations. The goal here is simple: to break China's chokehold on rare earth minerals and their strategic metals. Overall, why this particular thing means something to us in the United States right now, again, as I stated last week, China dominates the rare earth minerals and its supply chain. Nothing really, with the exception of the 10% that comes from elsewhere in the world, goes through China. Even those 10% kind of sort of runs through China's hand, and they get to pick and choose. This gives Beijing major leverage over prices, over availability, and over American industry. America used to be an industrial giant, and over the years, through some bad deals and some corrupt politicians, we've given that all away. And I recall Trump a long time ago actually being in an interview calling this out. I believe he was on a nighttime talk show host, the one Imposter Jew fella that he was talking to. I can't remember his name right now, but he was expressing how America's just giving up what makes America America. So Project Volt now changes this, and it's not a big change, but it's enough of a change to actually restructure things to help America. And by stockpiling these key minerals, the United States can shield its industries from supply shock, which China loves to do. They love to overinflate their numbers and shock the system to make it fall to its knees, and then China comes in and gives it to them. We call that the Cloward Piven strategy, where you create a problem and a solution and then tell the people that you're the hero. So it also helps America it shield themselves from price manipulation, because we will be digging in our own backyard finally. And for those environmental and nut freaks that love protecting children in the aspect of we can't have child slavery, yeah, this also puts a dent in that. Child slavery shouldn't exist, and China's big on that. You know, that phone that you're probably watching me on, that iPhone? Yeah, China uses child slavery. That iPhone was created by child slavery. So was all the other technology, really and truly, if it came through China's hands. So that would really decrease that from happening. That's not a theory. That's economic defense. This is strategic. But there's more to this than meets the eye. This plan is designed to pull heavyweight automakers and major tech firms back to American soil, which lowers prices. So for those that don't really understand how this works, let me break it down for you. The more something moves different locations, the more the price increases. So if it goes from Sweden to Germany, from Germany to Russia, from Russia to China, from China back to Sweden, from Sweden back to China, and then gets shipped out of China, those logistical moves increase the price. You wonder why your phone's $2,000 now? It's because of corporate greed, but also the fact that it's going all these different locations, and that costs money. So when you can reduce the moving parts, you decrease the price. And who wouldn't love having American-made products again? This ties the U.S. industrial capacity directly to national security, not foreign dependency. We have been far too long dependent on other nations for making America great again. Cheap clothing, cheap products. We've stopped being customers and become consumers. And if you can't understand the difference between a customer and a consumer, you are the problem. It kind of reminds me of the statement, the customer's always right. Well, in this case, the consumer is just a number. And if we can keep turning over those numbers, we can keep getting what we want. For example, the iPhone that I mentioned earlier, you keep buying the same phone with different colors every year and bought out by great advertising, but it's the same product with very few advancements. If you go all the way back to the very first iPhone to the iPhone now, you'll see a great leap, but they're incremental jumps each and every time. Nobody's innovating. Nobody's trying to reinvent the wheel, so to speak, even though the wheel's perfect, but you get my drift. It's crazy to me. This means for the United States, no more building critical tech or materials that are controlled by strategic competitors. It means that it's our hands in the pot now, and we get to stir it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing because we got some more corruption to clear out, but if we can really bring down the corporate control that we have in our government, we can make America better for the people of America, which ultimately is the goal. So my take overall on this particular topic is the clearest signal is that an economic policy and national security should be something that is a non-negotiable thing. It shouldn't be negotiable. We should make a stand here and say, hey, America first, America only in this particular area. Otherwise, we're going to just be right back where we were, sold out to other nations. Project Volt isn't just about minerals, it's about sovereignty. And today it seems like the word sovereignty is such a nasty word. It's a disgusting word. Oh God, we don't want to be sovereign. We want to be globalized. Do you understand that if you're globalized, you're under one sovereign rule? Whereas in America, we're under the rule of the people, maybe, which we're trying to get back to that point where we are under the rule of the people. We want to be under the rule of the people, not the governments. But some people want to bend the knee to the almighty dollar. Some people want to bend the knee to the corporations. Those people should never see the light of power ever. If you don't control your supply chains, you don't control your future. Accountability, responsibility. What you are responsible for, you're accountable for, and that's what matters. This move puts America back in the driver's seat where we have not been in a long time. And I'm here for that. And it's a necessity that we need to push for week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, decade in, decade out. Otherwise, we will lose this country post-haste. Our next topic here is deal or all talk. Now, we know Donald Trump is an excellent example of a deal maker. This man has brokered peace all around the world. Why he doesn't have the Nobel Peace Prize is beyond me, but I digress. He has brokered peace all over the world. Absolutely beautiful. Through deals. He has used tariffs and deals like nobody I've ever seen in this particular realm, but I'm not so sure about this one right here. I'm not. President Trump took to the interwebs and announced a new trade deal with India, which this trade deal is the same trade deal that I spoke about last week and we talked about last year, earlier in the year, where they were sending Tulsi Gabbard back and forth to try to broker this deal. It's been a long, arduous task of trying to get this deal, but Trump seems to think, as he truthed, aka tweeted for those that don't understand, this trade deal is going off without a hitch. And after nearly a year of back and forth, ping pong game, the negotiation seemingly, according to Trump's words, has come to fruition. The announcement posted on social media, no sign of agreement yet, and no formal proclamation. So Trump seems to think that this is going to happen, but we haven't had any official declarations and anything on paper yet. And this raises questions. Is this real or is it rhetorical? I have got to lean more to the side of real, because Trump doesn't really make statements without carrying them out. If you don't believe that, you need to look at his track record without rose-colored lenses or blinders on for the ones that are on the left. Here's what he claimed in his particular post. Trump says the U.S. would cut tariffs on India from the punitive 50% down to 18%. That's a win in this case for India. In return, what India would do for us is stop buying Russian oil, which is why they had the tariffs put on them in the first place. And they would pivot towards American energy. India also agreed to reduce and eliminate barriers for the U.S. imports, effectively offering zero tariffs in return on American goods. Not all of them, but some of them. And that's a big promise if it holds, because that seems like we are winning in every way, shape, and form, and India is not really benefiting. They start buying from America. They start giving us free reign in certain areas in their ports, and we still get to tariff them 18%. It almost sounds too good to be true, but we have seen this in the past with Mexico and Canada and the Philippines, which those deals all went through. So I have to lean towards the side of this man is not just bluffing. But again, this seems too good to be true in this particular area, because the reason why the deal was originally put on hold in the first place was because India decided in the middle of the negotiations to buy Russian oil, and that pissed Trump off. So Trump was like, anybody that's dealing with Russia and their oil is going to get a 50% tariff, or in that case, at that time was a 25% tariff. And then after India started buying, he hit them with the 50% tariff. Energy, technology, and agriculture are now going to come back to the United States by way of this deal. If India shifts away from Russian oil, that's a direct economic hit to Moscow and a strategic win for the United States if the deal goes off. We have to be clear. This is not a definite thing, and I would like to think from past dealings that Trump is speaking as a definite, not as a, big talk with a little stick, so to speak. It also opens the door for American producers to compete without staked tariffs. So that means that it will allow logistics to be a little bit cheaper. If you guys want to know more about how tariffs works, you need to look into Incoterms, international commercial terms, which always have to be agreed upon before things take flight with tariffs. So here's the real issue. Why announce this on social media before the paperwork is even written up? Is Trump setting the tariffs, the terms publicly to force the deal forward? Or is this some type of leverage and pressure applied before the final signatures even get dried on the paper? Because right now, there's no official notice. So from my perspective, Trump has always negotiated in public, which again, unlike the whole quiet move in our first segment with the turning warehouses into detention centers for illegals, which is done quietly, by the way, he's always done everything else in the public. He talks big, sets expectations, and dares the other side to walk away. And in a lot of ways, this has worked out. We have seen with the Canadian and Mexican agreement, which Biden went back on during his term, that was set during Trump's first term, we saw him cause them to bend the knee. They talked really big and said that they were going to do stuff back to us, and they did. And then they reneged. They backed out real quick, fast, in a hurry, because we make up 75+% in both countries. We make up 75% of their economies. 77.6 to be exact for Mexico or Canada, and 75.8% of Mexico's economy. We make up that much. It's nice being the big dog on top. But this is different. We've never really seen Trump put anything down in the air without something being written down on paper. And the strategy prior to this particular little fiasco has closed deals for him before, but the deals were already written up. There's no formal writing on the wall yet. So is this a preemptive victory lap for Trump? Could be. Maybe. I don't know. If it pans out that this is true, I will bring it to you. But again, you're not hearing the news talk about any of this stuff. And if this deal pans out, you heard it here first, not somewhere else, not Twitter, not TikTok, not Facebook, nowhere else, because no one is talking about this. And like I like to state, my team members have told me, hey, we talk about things that nobody else talks about, and then they become breaking news. So could this become breaking news? Could this be the art of the deal in motion? We will catch you guys up if it changes. I always love to come back to things before it's all said and done and let you guys know. The follow through is great here. So if you're watching and you're wondering, hey, do they cover stories that they've covered before to let us know updates? Yes, we do. Unlike other places, they will wait months and weeks and years to come back to things. I got you covered. I got you covered here. As always, give me 1 second. What is going on? Okay. All right. Our next story here, Operation Country Road. Take me home. So this is the actual name of this particular operation. So this is not me being clever with the naming. This is the actual name of the operation. Over a 2-week period in January, the last 2 weeks of January till now, the U.S. Immigration and Customs, aka ICE, conducted a major enforcement surge across the state of West Virginia. And boy, was it lucrative. The operation, named Operation Country Roads, resulted in over 650 arrests of individuals in the United States without legal authorization. So hopefully we can get rid of these people before these detention centers goes up, because I don't want to pay for them unless they're going to use the tariff money. But like I said earlier, we don't know if they're going to be the same case after Trump leaves office. However, this is a huge, significant number. In a short span across multiple cities, including Charleston, Morgantown, and Beckley, and Huntington, 600 people were snatched up. 650 plus people were snatched up. Do you know how big that is? Because ultimately our government and really local and state governments move very, very slow when they're making moves. And then they put out, oh, we had a big sting. Well, ICE has been on a tear, and I love it. We're getting these people locked up and shipped out post haste. But here's what's on the record. Federal and local law enforcements work together under the ICE's 287G partnership program, and it produced results. The arrests included individuals identified as posing threats to public and national safety security, and some of these with criminal histories. More than 550 of these arrests involve West Virginia officers trained with a side-by-side working of ICE. So these people are getting federal training, which I think that's where our police fail the most at, is that they don't have the training. And here you're actually getting the necessary training, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And this is described as a coordinated effort to restore integrity to immigration law. Now, let's be clear. We got to be clear, got to give the truth here, and we got to clear this up. There was a viral social media video that took to the internet and back in 2017, and it took the world by storm. And this story kind of reminds me of it, where a gentleman said that Muslim migrants and refugees were taking over West Virginia. and they had pictures of homes being destroyed and videos of homes being destroyed and videos and pictures of homes being thrown up, aka condos and apartments that were being filled by these Muslim immigrants and migrants. But those claims were debunked by fact-checking outlets. Allegedly, the specific context of of that particular video was not accurate, is what they said. Yet, seeing this and how many arrests have come from this particular operation in such a short period of time does kind of give that old video a different backdrop. It gives it some type of merit. Even if the original claims were allegedly false, this isn't about homes being demolished. It's about enforcement surges and locking up illegal activities. This is beautiful. So I spoke about this video a long time ago and looked into it, and I found a lot of things that validated it. And then looking into it again, when I came across this story, it seemed like that all those things that were validated back then were invalidated now and proven as false. But we know we can't really take PolitiFact and Snopes at their word, because we watched them lie all throughout 2020 and even years before that. And then they like to come back later and say, oh, well, yes, we told the truth about that. No, you lied. And speaking of how people change their tune and change their story, a lot of people are seemingly singing a different tune with all of these Epstein files coming out. And if anybody knows me, I don't really care to talk about Epstein, because I talked about it at length and at ad nauseum. Even before Epstein was known, I talked about that and what was going on in the trafficking of children. And now people seem to be in awe and shock. And you have a lot of naysayers picking up their phones and recording themselves saying, I knew it all along. No, you didn't, because I talked to you about it before. Other tinfoil hat wearing people talked to you about it before. Them eating children, them sacrificing children, them having rape fest of children. We talked about this, and you said we were crazy, that they don't do that, that demonic stuff doesn't happen. And now that these files continuously get released, you guys believe it. So this particular story, the guy released in 2017, actually has merit now. And I wonder if Snopes and PolitiFact and all these other fact-checking sites will change their tone. Why are operations like this intensifying, you might ask? They're intensifying because Trump is, at what we've seen, a man of his word. When enforcement sweeps snags hundreds in just a few days, how does that shape public perception? The public is in shock and awe in a lot of ways. You have on one side a bunch of people cheering this on, and on the other side you have a bunch of people fighting tooth and nail to shut it down. Because even when misinformation gets corrected, large enforcement actions still fuel concern. My perception and my take on this particular action is we need more of it. Because if you can pick up 650 plus people in 2 weeks, that means that you're doing something right. And that means that we, the people of America, have been lied to. And I hope what comes of this is that people start waking up and looking at this thing from the perspective of, hey, we've been lied to. Hey, they've been playing with us in our faces. And maybe people will put down their phones and pick up a book. Or at the very least, if you're going to hold your phone in your hand, you're looking up something and scrolling through something that is of merit and worth, and not TikTok, Facebook, and funny cat videos. Because ultimately, if you aren't getting truth like I'm giving you here, then what are you doing? You're either dining at the table of honesty, truth, and reality, or you're living in the living room of delusion. And a lot of people need to step out of the living room and come to the dinner table, because it's dinner time. It's time to eat and drink truth, not feelings, thinking, and believing. Because we've been doing that for far too long in this country, and we're losing our country day by day. Even though Trump's doing all of these great things, he's only one man, and it's incumbent upon the people to step up and do what's necessary to change our nation. He can't do it by himself, and he won't live forever. And I would love to see a nation where my kids get to live at least a decent life. Our last segment here today, and thank you for joining me and sticking with me this long. If you made it this far, this last segment is called Vote. Plain and simple. If you guys haven't been paying attention, this is a good one. U.S. lawmakers in Congress just unveiled an aggressive election integrity proposal aimed at changing how federal elections operate, because Trump can't do this by himself. I don't understand how people don't know how the Constitution of the United States functions and how our government functions as that is described inside of the Constitution. I don't get how you guys don't see it, but Trump can't unilaterally say, we're going to change election laws. You can't do that. The election laws are done by the Congress, aka legislative branch, because that's where laws are made at. But Congress seemingly has put forth effort to make some changes. It's called the Save America Act. And yes, it goes further than the current laws that are in place, which is crazy that we have to go any further than the laws in place, because apparently there's loopholes that need to be closed. But here's what's in it ultimately. Voters would be required to present photo ID at the ballot. To cast a ballot, you have to have the ID. Why that's such a big deal to more than half of America is beyond me, because you have to have ID for clubs. You have to have ID for cigarettes. You have to have ID for alcohol. You have to have ID to go get your ID. So what are we doing? You have to have an ID to get ID. You use your ID for a lot of things. Now, I don't believe you should have to have ID for some things, but you can't get on a plane without it. You can't drive your car without it. You can't even go to the doctor's office without it. So why do you get to vote without it? Now, to register to vote, individuals would have to show documented proof of U.S. citizenship, not just an affidavit, not just some paperwork. You have to have shown proof that you are who you say you are and live where you say you live, because a lot of these states are letting people get on the voter roll that aren't exactly American. If you recall, in the 2020 elections, a Chinese national who was properly removed from this country got to vote, and he voted in 2 states. 2, not 1, but 2 states. States would be pushed to continuously remove non-citizens from their voter rolls. And if you recall, with the whole fiasco that's going on in Minnesota, Ilhan Omar said that Trump really wants to be able to rig elections, and this is why he's calling for our voter rolls and doing all of this stuff with these light bulb headed Somalians. No, Ilhan light bulb head Omar, he's doing what he's doing because of the corruption. And now Tim the Toolman Walls is rolling over on you guys, and things are really moving now. With the border czar moving in and DHS moving in, Minnesota might be shipped and whipped into shape post haste. And maybe we can get some of these cousin banging, light bulb headed Somalians out of our country, because we don't want Islam, baby, like you guys do. But this move right here isn't a symbolic move. It's a structural move that will set forth a statement that America wants to be American, not America wants to be home of illegals and illegal actions. We are slowly but surely trying to rectify the misshapen, misformed constitution that we're living under now, because it's not the true constitution. Current law does not universally require documented proof of citizenship to register. And the forefathers, as brilliant as they were, didn't think we needed it, because they didn't think we would be at a point in time where we would be absolutely mentally handicapped like we are in the United States right now. We're absolutely positively mentally handicapped in most of our actions and most of our dealings. This bill does, however, drop some heavy truths. Think real ID and those standards. Now, I do have some qualms with the real ID, but if it will clear up our situation with voting, it might be worth it in this particular arena only. You need to be able to verify that you're from here, not just some random passerby that wants to come in and change things to benefit their type of people that are here illegally. Supporters say this ensures only citizens vote. The bill still is backed by Republicans, including people like Chip Roy, who go on to say that this advocates for the American people. The GOP advocates that and argues that these are common sense safeguards and basic protections for election integrity, which have to be put in place because the Democrats want to let anybody vote for them. So they moved away from the black vote that they used to push for, and you had Biden up there saying, if this happens, they're going to put you back in chains, and you know that guy saying stuff like that. They stopped pushing for the black vote and started pushing for this replacement theory. And they're saying, hey, if you come here and you vote blue, no matter who, we'll get you in here. Now the opponents, which are mostly just Democrats, are claiming that voting rights and groups don't need the requirements, and that the requirements could disenfranchise voters who lack quick access to documents. Bro, I recall Uncle Binky Biden saying that people in rural areas, mostly black and brown people, as he called them, can't get online to get in line to be able to get a certain card for that thing that happened in 2020. And then we had that governor in New York say that black people aren't smart enough to use the internet. Listen, most people will get what they need when they need it. And if people really, truly want to vote, they will do the same. And to say that people of any kind, whether they're white, black, brown, yellow, whatever, can't do something because of where they're from or what they look like is crazy work. It's absolutely insanity that you guys would allow this to be stated and nobody checked these people. It's crazy. But this is a political clash that is not going to end well, and I don't honestly think it'll get passed. So what I'll use this particular segment to speak on, off topic, get out and vote. Midterms are coming up. The Republicans are retarded. I'm just going to call it what it is. They're slow. They don't know how to campaign. They think that just because they have Donald Trump in office, that they're just going to whisk all of these things through. The same thing that happened in his first term when the Republicans lost their power in the Congress is going to happen again if you don't get out and vote. Having Donald Trump just sitting in presidency will do nothing. He will get nothing passed. He will continue to cast and pass all of these executive orders, and they will continue to get shot down by these liberal judges. I won't go there. I won't get too berating here, but and nothing will change. Nothing will happen, and it will be your fault because you're not getting out and voting. You need to get out and vote. You need to get out and vote. Midterms are coming up. Get out and vote. The Republicans are too dumb to be telling you this. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. I can't say it enough. Midterms are coming. Get out and vote. And if you don't like your Republican candidate, vote them out. Vote them out. Put somebody else in. Give somebody else a chance. Do you realize how much it costs just to run for office? Millions. Why that is crazy to me. Vote these people out. Don't let the Democrats win so Trump can actually get some things passed. We need to vote out a lot of Republicans anyway and replace them with new blood because a lot of them are rhinos. A lot of them are system. Vote them out. Please, please. I want to say so much more, but I won't because I have to rein myself in sometimes. But please vote these people out. Midterms are coming up. And the way to do this, I'm going to give you guys some great tea. If we use the tactics that Trump used to win in 2024, go out, grab a friend, teach them, tell them, educate if necessary on what is and who they should be voting for, and take them to the voting booth. You take them by the hand, get them in your car, truck, bus, whatever, and drive to this place and have them vote. If one person can bring two people, that's three people that you didn't have before. And Christians, you lazy American Christians, get out and vote. Get out and vote. Midterms are so very important. If you want to see more of what Trump is doing, get out and vote. If you don't want to see more of what Trump is doing, stay home and watch your country go by the wayside. Get out and vote. Our Bible verse today comes from Proverbs 12:25. And I love the book of Proverbs. My mom read it to me every single day in her womb and every single day until I could read, and then I had to read it to her. Proverbs is a great book of wisdom. Proverbs 12:25, my apologies, says, heaviness in the heart of a man makes it stoop, means to drop down. But a good word makes it glad. I hope today that I brought you a good word and that your heart is lifted up. Get out and vote, and make sure you're not one of the ones missing the forest for the trees. Thank you.